All right, now you know what to do. Michika and Madagali local government areas of Adamawa State last week suffered heavy attack from members of the insurgents. This led to many fleeing their homes for safety. Mubi is a neighboring local government, was not affected, but residents had to flee to avoid being attacked by the insurgents. Well, this has given rise to the number of displaced persons and increase in population of the capital of the state, Yola. Joining us to review the situation is Lionel Rawlins, security consultant, American University of Nigeria. It's nice to have you.
Ibolachi.
Okay.
You know what it means?
No, I don't.
I'm an Igbo man from
Wow.
Igbo State.
Now I think I have to learn some of these languages so that I will not be taken unawares.
You know what? Kedum.
Lafia.
Oh, well,
Lafia.
it's all like this and like that. It's, well, someone is an advocate of the major three, I mean the three major languages eradicated. But yes.
Eradicated?
Yes. Why having three major languages? But rather every other ethnic group has a language and culture. Well, back to the topic of discussion now. We're reviewing rather the security situation in the country, especially in the northeastern zone, particularly now in regions between Maiduguri and Adamawa State, which will have places like Michika in between, places like Madagali, Mubi, and other neighboring, that is more closer to Yola, the state capital. We've had strong attacks over the weekend. I mean, last week towards the weekend, and we see people trooping in and out of Madagali, Michika, and Mubi areas into Yola. With this kind of situation, what does it hold for a place like Yola, the residents in this part of the country, I mean, the state?
Well, the best advice is to remain calm and don't worry about anything. Yola and Jamaica is very, very safe. And yes, there was an influx of people who came in because of the incidents that happened in Michigan and those places. But one thing to remember is to use your analytical and critical thinking skills. If the people flee here because things were bad there, it means here is safer than where they were. If they didn't feel like Yola and Jamaica was safe, they could have gone somewhere, you know, Kaduna, Abuja, somewhere else, but they came here.
But with them fleeing towards this area, thinking Yola is safe, do you think the residents in Yola will also feel safe that these people are actually running away from something and that thing coming towards this end?
Well, there's some people who got caught up in that panic and that fear that was brought into the area by the people who were fleeing those areas, because what they brought when they came with them is fear and panic. Some people just bought into it and became fearful themselves and started panicking. But the smart people who were able to evaluate things were able to say, I'm going to remain calm, I'm going to remain cool and collected, so I don't overreact and become a part of this fear factor and the panic. And one of the things that people have to look at, it's the Emir of Mubi came here for, I think it's a meeting that he came for, or whatever reasons he came for. If he didn't feel that Yola and Jamaica was safe, he wouldn't be here. And if the Lamido is here, if things weren't running properly, I'm sure he would have found a way to fix it, or you can look at these people and take your cues from them. What they do, you just do what they do. And I look at your leaders, the people in your community. They're the people who are plugged in and they know what's happening. The place is safe, and we need not worry. Also, one of the problems that had the place abuzz with fear and panic was the rumors that always follow the fear and the panic. And I find that in Nigeria, part of the culture is rumors. People spread rumors.
You know, but surprisingly,
viciously.
One of the rumors spread during the whole situation was that some military men were actually, chased away from these areas when they went to, cushion the effect of the insurgents and other things. They had to run back to Yola, and the people there feel, okay, if the military are also on their feet running, why should we stay?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, how do we know for a fact they were actually running away? Maybe they came back to rearm themselves or regroup and to go back. Or they could have been running away, but we don't know, because it's the military and the security people never tell you the strategies and the tactics. Yes, I know about a month ago there was a video of some soldiers running into Cameroon. Yeah. And just like in all military armed forces, there are some people who will run away, but most of the people will not do that. Most people will stand and fight. So if you see a soldier running away, it doesn't mean the whole military is running away. It means that just that group is running away. But what happened is now, if you look and see what happened, since then, the military has gone back and reclaimed these places. And
so that could possibly be a strategy.
It could have been a strategy.
Yeah.
No, and everybody's they're going back to where they came from, and it's a good sign
of
that either they feel safe there to go back, but it's the rumor that was going around. I heard that rumor. There was a rumor that, yes, I'm sure most of your listeners heard it, that Mubi fell, and because Mubi fell is, you know,
coming down towards
and Yola is next. And I would say, if people out there hear rumors, they just discount these rumors. Don't pay any attention to these rumors. It's just rumors. And it's your culture, though, to believe anything you hear. And it's not just the military.
When you say it's the culture of the people, how then do we discard rumor when you're not getting information forthcoming? We're not saying you should reveal the strategies in which the military operates with, but we need information that would kind of cool down or ease the tension that is around. Nobody's talking. Nobody comes out to say this and this.
Okay, good point. I know people, if you want to, go to the head of the commissioner of police, the army, the SSS, the Civil Defense Corps. These people will give you the information that you need to know. They might not give you confidential information, but they will give you a certain amount of information. Some people will say, well, we don't have access to those people. If I'm just a guy selling suya, the commissioner is not going to take my call, then that's fine. Then go to your bishop, go to your imam, go to these community and civic leaders. They have information and ways that they can get the information from these
to the
people.
right quarters.
Exactly, but don't just because the guy next door said that the Boko Haram is 2 miles away, you just pick up and start running. You know, we have to evaluate things. But like I said, rumors are a bad thing, and you know, in warfare, one of the 80% is propaganda, which is rumor, and the other 20% is actual fighting. That is why in all military organizations, one of your biggest department is your propaganda department. You spread fear, and you also, you know that the number one priority of all insurgents is to create fear. And this is a clear example of fear being created in the midst of this whole area that is so safe by the insurgents. So in essence, they won the PR war of what was happening.
All right, now there were insinuations also that why this fear happened during past week or days, let's put it that way. There was no really proper scrutiny when these people were trooping into Yola. Would you also ascribe to that kind of a statement?
You don't know who is fleeing?
Yes. It's possible that maybe 1 or 2 of the bad guys could have, you know, gotten in, but not as many as people think, because in the same way that people think that these people are coming in and other people can come in with them, your SSS, your military, your police, they also are aware of that, and that's why your checkpoints was so stringent and tough, and they have the proper things in place to find that kind of stuff out. And that is why it's so important for the people living in Yola and Jamaica. If you see strange people acting strangely, or you see things that are different, if you see something, say something. You can't just sit by and then let something blow up and then you go and tell the police after. Because security is everybody's business. Yeah. It's not just for the military to come and protect you. The military and the police and the SSS, they're all reactive. They only come after something happened. But maybe not the SS. The SS is always around. But mostly police is reactive. They show up after something happens. But it is our duty, if we see something, to say something. We can't just sit around and not acknowledge that we have some strange people acting strangely in my backyard.
Now, over the weekend, we registered a kind of huge success with regard to the military bouncing on these insurgents. Now, one thing that is kind of disturbing Nigerians is, let me just say, within yesterday and today, is the fact that a fighter jet got missing. And up till now, no one has been able to give real information, although on the dailies this morning, we read where farmers said they
might have sighted
the jet. Now, what would that kind of give to the confidence of or the morals of soldiers who feel maybe, yes, we're actually gaining grounds with regard to the battle over insurgents?
Well, that is, you know, it happens all over the world. A jet goes down, the pilot either ejects and lands safely, or sometimes they do not get the opportunity and they go down with the aircraft. The governments in charge usually don't know what the problem was until they go and investigate. It could have been shot down, it could have had mechanical problem, it could have been pilot error, and all of these things that are possibilities. But the government cannot come out and say to you or the people that the plane crashed, because it could have been shot down, or they couldn't say shot down because it could have been a mechanical error. So they can't have information immediately. It just happened a few days ago. They have to find the aircraft, and then they have to examine it to see if there are puncture holes in the body in the fuselage, which would indicate that it was shot down, or they have to check the black box and to check the engines to see if it is mechanical. So to come back to your question, people need to be patient. You can't just get information just because the plane go down. What the people need to do to boost the morale of the soldiers who are now doing a great job is to actually support them. I let them know, look, I support you, you have a tough job, I support you, you're doing a good job. Or you see a soldier, you see a policeman, whether you want to or not, tell them thanks. You know, it's a good feeling. Remember, they're not your enemies, they're your friends.
But you know, we can't still run away from fear. And people can act strangely when they are afraid. Already we know fear has gripped the people in this part of the country because of the number of attacks, you know, on villages and local government areas and other things. But still bringing the mind of the people down to them believing that, okay, the military are really working to see to their safety. How possible?
Yes, it's a very good question again. If I were living in a village, I would be very fearful, because they're virtually vulnerable to anything. And that is why it's so easy for the insurgents to go to these villages and shoot up the village. You know, people living their normal, average lives, there's no protection or anything. In Yola and Jamaica, we have an Air Force base, an Army base, we have police all around us. There's one road in and one road out. It's difficult to come here. People need to examine these kind of things and think critically and stop listening to the information that they get. Fear is okay, but if you're going to be fearful, try to examine it from a perspective of confidence. You know, people go to war, they're fearful. It's not everybody. I've been to war. Every time I go, I was afraid.
All right,
but I didn't let it affect me to the extent that I couldn't function.
Okay, now let me have you think over this while we'll go on this break. Now, it is seeing quite the opposite with what happens in Cameroon. When in the insurgents attack in Cameroon, there's this quick response from the Cameroonian government or Cameroonian military. Now, when compared to Nigeria, there is an opposite. Now, when we come back from the break, you're going to tell us why this is so and what we could do or what can we do to really come out of this issue of slow response to attacks whenever they come up. Now, we'll take a quick break and then we'll be right back on this discussion. Don't go away.
Back, and this is Safiya Breakfast Show, and we are looking at the security situation in Adamawa State, and our guest is Lionel Rawlins, security consultant with the American University of Nigeria. Now, before the break, Aaron was asking why the slow pace when it comes to Nigeria reacting to issues of attacks. Well, it's the opposite we saw with the Cameroonian government.
Well, what happened is across the border, in Nigeria is where all of this stuff is happening, and we have to deal with it. We have to deal with people in our towns, the cities, the villages. There are people who can blow up markets, mosques, churches, and so forth. Whereas in Cameroon and Chad and Niger, all they have to do is put people at the border, and anyone cross the border, you shoot them. And what they do, their strategy is when someone crosses the border from Nigeria into their territory, they just shoot them down. And that's easy to do. There is no great thinking or anything. And quite rightfully so, they are making sure that these people don't come into their country to create problems. So if you're going to cross the border, you're going to get shot. That is why the response is so fast and so quick and easy. But if the insurgents were inside of Cameroon, you would see they'll be having the same kind of problems that we're having here. But that is why the Cameroonian government is so strong and so swift, certain, and severe with their attacks on the insurgents, because they don't want this to happen there. To their country. So they're doing the proper thing.
So could that also be that because the whole insurgency is from Nigeria, and they've gained grounds in the country, which makes them more stronger? Exactly. That is why the country cannot really.
Exactly. If they had cut the head of the snake off at the very beginning, it wouldn't be so bad. We kind of played around with it and didn't take it seriously until it got to this point. And now that is at this point, we are dealing with what we have. It's like having cancer.
Okay, let's go back to this Australian negotiator's report. Now, I read in the dailies where he said he was with the Obasanjo's government for security analysis of the Nigerian terrain, geographical location in total. And he gave a report which pointed to the fact that there are groups of individuals that are gathering within the extreme part of the north, and no one paid attention to that report. He said he did the same for Umaru Musa Yar'Adua too. Nothing was done with regard to that. Same was done with Jonathan's administration.
And now
Yet
we're dealing with
no
it.
one paid attention to that. Now, what is it about the slow-paced movement of the government in tackling something that is this threatening, like insurgency like this?
Well, it is just the nonchalance of people to act on things that they don't believe. A lot of times, people believe something will just go away, and more than we do it in our daily lives. It's the same thing with Hitler. When Hitler started to his World War II escapade, the rest of the world just stood by and watched and did nothing until he got so close to conquering the world. That's when everybody decided to come together and go to fight. It's the same thing. All of these governments, they don't take things seriously until they get to this stage. And then now we have to commit all these men to go and fight and put an end to it, and that's why so many people are dying. But in the meantime, these people have been building up and building up. Again, like I said, it's like cancer. If you have cancer and you do not treat it in the very beginning, it's going to spread. And before you know it, you won't be able to contain it.
Now, the question is, should Nigerians believe Steve Jacobs' report, the Australian negotiator? Should they believe that report?
You know, where there is smoke, there is fire. I can't believe that a man of that stature would just openly lie and blatantly lie to the world. It's not as if he's telling a lie to you or to you. He's saying it to the entire world. Now, there might be some embellishment. He may add in a few little things there, but there's some truth to what he said. There's elements of truth to what he's saying. It might, a few things might be distorted a bit, but there is none of us could go and lie to the world with social media and the way how news is disseminated. That man's credibility is on the line. I doubt very much that he's lying.
So now that brings us to the issue of intelligence gathering. Because whether or not he might have elements of truth, his story might, he might have added one or two things that could not, that may not be true. I think some of these things needs to be put into consideration, analyzed, and see whether or not, something may come out of it. Take, for instance, now the issue of people trooping into Yola for safety.
Right.
What should the intelligence, in quotes now, of the military, do as regards this?
Well, there are people coming in, and it's a very big concern because, if 10,000 people came in from Mubi, even if you had 50 Boko Haram or whoever else is